Hello, welcome to another exciting Made in England with me, Richard Vobes. And it's very nice of you to join me. We're getting quite good at this, aren't we? I mean, watching it, turning up, looking at it, being here, recording it, all that kind of malarkey, whatever it is. We are getting quite good at it. And people seem to like it. Thank you very much for the emails. It's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. And I had this rather crazy idea. I thought, because we used to do this in the long distance past, live, maybe once a week or twice a month or something like that. We could do a live show in which we could actually interact together at the same time. Get the lovely Julia in. She can be sitting there like we used to do in the old Vobes show and do a live. What do you think? Answers on a postcard. Do send them to me, richard@vobes.com. And not only did I think we could do a live, probably at a weekend, on a Sunday evening, early evening, something like, I don't know, about 6 o'clock or something, just as you're settling down or cooking your dinner, you could watch something. Maybe, actually, a friend of mine goes live at 6, so maybe that would be a bit, he wouldn't like that. Maybe a bit later on. Anyway, it doesn't really matter, whenever it is. It's not going to happen this week, and it's not going to happen next week. I think we'll wait till December to do this, so we'll work out exactly how we're going to do this, for the Christmas period and see if it goes any well. But I also thought, wouldn't it be fun to have some mugs made? Now, I've got these lovely old British sort of Target mugs, which has got the red, white and blue. This is all about England and Englishness and all those sort of nonsense. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had produced some mugs with the lovely Julia's face on it and my ugly mug on it, made in England, official mugs that you'd better buy online. And then you could sit there and watch the live shows with us, drinking a nice cup of tea with our mugs. What do you think? Would that be a good idea? It might be. We don't get much money from the merchandise, selling of the mugs and stuff. We get like 50p, if that. The rest of it goes to the company who facilitates it. I don't mind. That's all part of it. That's all part of this madcap thing that we call Made in England. So it's Friday today, Friday the 18th of November as I record this in the early afternoon, 2022. Getting on, isn't it? Almost the end of the year. Christmas will be upon us before we know what to do, and then it'll be another year. And the sun is shining down here in Worthing, let me tell you that, just in case you're a bit jealous and it's some other kind of weather where you are, but you may be having something. We English, you know what it's like? We're absolutely obsessed by the weather. It's the one thing. You bump to somebody in the street, you might say, "How are you? Hello there, how are you?" You don't really want an answer. You don't want them to actually say, well, it's funny you should ask, actually. I've got a bit of lumbago down the back of my neck here, and also my legs are playing up, and I had a heart murmur only the other week, and I was in hospital. I nearly died, and I've got a little bit of problems with my skull. I've got glued my fingers to them, in actual fact, and I can't actually take... No, I'm not a Just Oil protester. I'm just stupid with gluing things. Oh, there we go. You don't really want people to tell you about their ailments. You're going, no. But the second thing that you say to them is, lovely weather we've had recently, or rotten weather we've had recently, or blowy weather we've had recently, or some sort of weather I can't quite define we've had recently. That's the sort of two parts of the conversation that you have. And the other person is then only has to agree and say, yes, oh yeah, we did have that kind of weather. Again, you don't want them to go into it and say, well, actually, we've had some of this other... You just want them to agree with you, don't you, when you greet people in the street like that? You just want them to go, yes, terrible, the floods, terrible. It came up into my house and flooded the bedroom. The poor children drowned. What a shame it was. My granddad, he's been floated to the surface underneath his grave, and the poor old gravestones toppling about like that. If it was light, I could have surfed down the street on it, but you know what they're like. They're very heavy. They just sink to the bottom, so it's no good. You can't do it. So you don't really want that in a conversation, do you? Anyway, just a little hint there. If you're one of these lovely foreign people who are watching the show and trying to learn English from me, you're probably not doing very well. Anyway, there we are. Now, on this day, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of interesting things happened on this day, but I'm only going to give you a very tiny little bit because that's all I've got time for. 1852. Take your mind back to 1852. Yes. Just gone 10 to 7, I know. The state funeral of the Duke of... I nearly said the Duke of Norfolk then. What is he? The Duke of Wellington. That's right. Took place at St. Paul's Cathedral. Do you want to see a picture of him? I've got a picture of him. Here he is. There he is. Look at that. He was young then. He did get older, more wizened and everything. He was known as the Iron Duke. He was a Tory Prime Minister from 1828 to 1830 for 2 years, and his hereditary title was devised from the Somerset town of Wellington. Hello there. Oh, hello there. There's the title again. This is a Mickey Mouse production, by the way. Yes, he was there. The title of Wellington, apparently, was created by some geezer called Arthur Wellesley the First, the Marquis of Wellington. I'm sure he didn't talk like this. I'm sure he's a lot posher than what I is at the moment, but there you are. The Wellington Monument, apparently, is this sort of big obelisk thing that sticks out. I don't know what you do with it. But anyway, there we are. It's so interesting. I went onto Wikipedia just to have a glance, a little glance at the Duke of Wellington, because he was involved with Napoleon, wasn't he? I think they had fisticuffs at dawn somewhere, or was it... Did they use pistols or something, or cannon? Or was it... I seem to remember there was huge armies involved, and there's some lovely paintings. We might come back to that in another thing. And I was so enamoured with that, I thought, I wonder if there's a book, because, I like books, I wonder if there's a book about him, because he was, as I say, he was known as the Iron Duke. So I put in the Iron Duke just for a laugh into one of these online retail places, and blow me, there was a book, and it was only £3 delivered. £3 delivered to your door. And I thought, well, some people would buy a couple of bags of crisps and some lemonade for that, a little bit of sherbet. And I thought, nope, I will buy myself another book. Even if I can't read the damn thing, at least for £3 I can rip the pages up, scrunch them up and use them as firelighters. I would never do that, by the way, because that is sacrilege. If you're one of those people who cannot do... And more about books later on in the programme. What else happened in history on this date? 1910. Do you remember 1910? More than 100 were arrested by the police when suffragettes tried to storm the House of Commons, apparently, in Westminster in London. I suppose you'd like to see a picture of the suffragettes now, wouldn't you? Hang on a minute, I'll just see if I've got a picture of the suffragettes. Here's a picture of the suffragettes. I don't know whether these are the ones that were storming. They don't look very storm-like. They're not like storm troopers. Bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, ba-bum. However, the... How did it go in start? I better not sing it. We'll probably get a copyright strike and be whipped off the platform. But, they're hardly stormtroopers, aren't they? Imagine the stormtroopers going in as suffragettes. It's very funny, isn't it? I was watching some of this television with these Just Stop oil nutters who get onto gantries and then get extremely emotional as they stand over there wetting themselves. And what was the point I was going to make? Oh, there was... No, hang on a minute. Oh, I've lost it now. There was a connection. But oh, yes, they keep talking about suffragettes. That's right. That's what it is. They keep going, how... every time you see them being interviewed and they say, why are you doing this? Why aren't you protesting to the right people? You're annoying the general public. It's, oh, well, this direct action, that it's proved in history, the suffragettes. And you think... Yeah, but that was over 100 years ago. Surely you've got something a bit more up to date than going, the suffragettes did it. He's like, well, so much has passed. We've had 2 world wars since then. Come on, think of something a bit more up to date. If you could say, oh, it was only last week, the miners' strike, they made a big difference. Well, did they? I don't know that really did, actually. Wasn't there a lot of police? The police knew how to deal with people who were a bit stubborn back in the old days. Now they just leave them to sit in the road and glue themselves and make them cups of tea and nice soufflés. Hello, madam. I would notice you're sitting in the road. Would you like a nice soufflé? I can knock you one up with eggs. I've gone on a special training course, don't you know? Anyway, that was in 1910. I'm sure things are very different here. In 1916, General Douglas Haig called off the Battle of the Somme. All right, boys, Battle of the Somme. It's over. Any of you can any of you still get up and walk? I know that a lot of you are lying down being dead. That's not supposed to have happened. Yes, apparently it'd been in Europe for 5 months as a futile battle. Futile! Imagine. You just can't believe that these sort of things would go on in this world. Although then you look at current politics and you realise, yeah, I don't know, would I prefer to put my head over the and just get it done with? Bang! Oh, there we go. So I'm put out of my misery instead of having something like 12 pence put on the price of diesel coming in April, coming up after this autumn statement that we had. So it means I'll never be able to drive my lovely diesel van. What with the price of everything else going up? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, apparently, according to this, a battle which included the first use of tanks in the Somme. I think I mentioned this the other day. Churchill had something to do with the design of tanks. He came up with the idea that surely you should put blokes into a big tank, not a water tank, stick it on wheels, and then you'll be able to get across an all-terrain vehicle. And I think he injected something like that. A terrible thing, the business on the Somme, of course. And in 1926, George Bernard Shaw. Do you want to see a picture of George Bernard Shaw? I've got a picture of George Bernard Shaw here. Bing, there he is. Look at that. Sort of wizened old wise-looking bloke, wasn't he? He was a playwright, wasn't he? But apparently, George Bernard Shaw, this was the interesting thing in 1926, he refused to accept the money for his Nobel Prize. Now, I don't know why, because he says he cannot forgive Albert Noble, who presumably is the bloke who set up the Nobel Prize, or it's in honour of him, however it was, for inventing dynamite. Well, I mean, there's always a good use to put to dynamite and a bad use. I mean, sure, the old dynamite, throw it over. Think, if we did not have dynamite, think about all those wonderful cartoons that we would no longer see, where, I don't know, Bugs Bunny gives to Roadrunner or whoever it is, these, stick of dynamite and the bloke's looking at it and it goes, and then he's there as charcoal before it goes, Come on, George Bernard Shaw. Without that, the cartoons would not be funny. They'd be hilarious. I know a lot of people just, but think of people in those things you dig, quarries. You need that to blow up the thing so you get all the rock formation down. So I don't know. Anyway, we know all about that. And the last item in history on this time, 1991. Any idea what it could be? This is when church envoy Terry Waite was freed by the Islamic extremists who'd kidnapped him in Beirut in 1987. And you just wonder, they kidnapped him, good old Terry Waite, and they chained him to a radiator. I seem to remember that. I don't remember. I remembered the release, and I think he was interviewed on Wogan. Do you remember that? Good old. So you were captured there at all, were you? Good old Wogan. I used to like old Wogan. And I wonder, if they captured him and they tied him up and they said, right, okay, mate, you just have to wait there for a bit. Wait. Did you say wait? You taking a mickey out of my name? No. You just wait there on that radio. I hope you're not going to turn this radio on too hot. No. Just wait there. You'll be fine. Look, stop taking a mickey about my name. Chained to a radiator. Have you ever been chained to a radiator? What is the worst thing you've ever been chained to? Or have you never been chained? I'd be interested. Some people do. Some people do it as a sort of bedroom activity, don't they? They chain... Anyway, enough of all that nonsense. Anyway, there we are. That's what happened in history on this particular day. You can go around, tell a few friends, and rejoice in all of those things. In the history of this programme, not so much this programme, but this channel, things occasionally, ladies and gentlemen, go wrong. Things do go wrong. For example, the lovely Julia and I have been out filming recently for an earlier programme which we shoved out on this channel, in which we call The English Couple. And sometimes technology lets you down when you least expect it. For example, have a look at this. And going out, sometimes it's very nice as a couple just to go out, instead of having a cup of tea, which you can do at home, going out to a tea shop. We found a nice little place in Worthing. Where we go to. Obviously, going out costs a bit of money, and we don't have a huge amount of money between us.
But every now and then, it's nice just to have a change of scenery, a change of airs.
And even if you're not really having heavy, conversations, but you're just having, it's just that change, isn't it? You're to go. That's right. Look at that. Burbling away. We carried on burbling away for the whole of the film for about another 15 minutes till we realised The microphones had switched themselves up. Not only switched themselves up, the batteries had run out. These are lovely little microphones. They're made by a company called Rode. I think they're in Australia. Very good, very reliable, ordinarily. Excuse me, I'm going to belch. Burp. There we are. And for some reason, and I'm sure, I'm fairly meticulous about having charged up batteries because these sort of things happen from time to time. But on that particular occasion, just suddenly, and so we had to go out because the batteries wouldn't charge up in time, and poor old Julia had to run out. And we had to go out and film it on a different camera somewhere else. And you'll be able to watch that. That's out now. It's already been launched, We've launched so many videos, We just churn it. We can't stop ourselves. Stop it. Anyway, so I was wondering, maybe you've had instances where things have gone wrong. You've relied on something, everything, and we rely on that technology. Maybe it's getting a bride to the church and everything is fine until you get in the car and you realise, oh, I haven't been in the car for a long time. I didn't put any petrol in. No petrol, can't get there. Is there something that's happened to you where you've just assumed? You see, I just assumed that I'd charged up the batteries. I made this huge assumption and not meticulously check. I mean, I remember when I took my driving test, there was this thing that said that you had to go and open up the bonnet and check everything in the car, make sure the battery was all charged up. Is there enough distilled water in there? Are the tyres pumped up? Is the tyre pressure correct? And is the tread, that's the word, on the tyres, is that sufficient? Is that all absolutely 100% tickety-boo? And you're supposed to walk round there and check everything. Well, who does that? Nobody does that. They get into their vehicle, they assume it's going to work. Modern vehicles, of course, are a lot more reliable than ever they used to be. You just get into it and you assume. But it's those are the moments. That's when the dark cloud of ha ha ha, I will get you, comes over and sorts you out. And suddenly, those things that you thought would be reliable hadn't. So let me know, richard@vobes.com. Send me an email, richard@vobes.com. You can put it in the comments, but if you send me an email, I'll read it out on the show, which would be rather good. Talking of that, we've got some emails, and I'm going to come to those now, because, let me just see if I can find the email desk on the special facility here, which I can. You'll be pleased to know. So, number one email. Hello. Here we go. This is from Anne. Now, this relates to something we did in The English Couple, funnily enough, in which we were making up some stuff for Christmas, those candle lights. I don't know if you saw that episode. If you didn't, go back and check it, then come back here. And nobody ever does that. Do you ever do that? When those videos say, oh, if you didn't watch the video where we explained exactly how life began and where we are in this human place at this moment now, go back and check the series 452,000 videos to watch, and then this bit will make sense. Do you ever do? I never do that. I just watch the video and just assume that I'll catch up anyway. This is from Anne, and Anne says, hello, Richard. My childhood Christmases were always predominantly homemade, so I have continued many of the homemade traditions. Here is a brief visual summary of how to create an evergreen wreath for your front door. You might like to give it a go in December. Julia got very excited at this, I must tell you. I reuse the base ring each year, which could be a simple wire coat hanger, and use hedge trimmings to cover it, securing it with thin wire, she says. I'll show you the pictures in a second. Then poke in bits of pretty evergreens and fir cones to create the wreath. You can add ribbon bow, bundles of cinnamon sticks and other bits and bobs if you want. I am happy to advise further if you would like. Regards from Anne Wright. Anne, thank you so much for all of that, and we will now have a look at your pictures. Hang on, I've got to find the things. Here we go. This is Anne's pictures of exactly that, and you'll be able to give it a go. And if you do this, let me know. Here we go. So we start off with a bit of wire, as you can see, and she's made up a ring. You can just about see, this is a big close-up of the ring, but you'll see as we go forward here, if I go to the next picture, and she's started to add some of the fur. That looks like yew tree, in actual fact, going round. Now, I know for a fact that Anne lives she's in, I won't tell you where she is, but she's up sort of towards the Surrey border on the Never Eat Shredded west side, northwest of Sussex, and it's very rural up there, so there's lots of nice countryside to go and nab bits of furniture. and there, not furniture, leaves and things. And there she is, not her, but you can see what she's been doing there, putting it together, and it looks very beautiful, and we love it. And there is the... Oh, I've done that the other wrong way round, haven't I? That's the completed bit of that. That's with the thing going on. And then if I'm correct, there it is. Look at that. Doesn't that look beautiful? Of course, you've got to have a lovely door to go with it. That makes all the difference, in my humble opinion. And my opinion is very, very humble. So thank you very much, Anne. I know that Julia is very excited to do that. Now, if you're ordering stuff for Christmas, you might have the same problem that Pete had. He had this experience, and he says, Richard and Julia, my wife ordered me a Serbian cooking knife 2 weeks ago. I checked out on the website, and it started its journey from London. It had 75 great reviews with photos, so we paid for it, and we reserved a response. We paid for it, and we reserved a response to say thank you for your order and all that stuff. Well, 2 weeks later, after the shipping time, it hasn't moved, and no tracking even number was sent. So I emailed them and asked them, where's my knife? Well, I think I'll have to make my own knife now. Oh, why is that? He says the response the next day was to say, sorry, but looks like customs have seized your goods and we will give you a full refund. However, it's been 2 days and no refund, so hopefully we'll get it within the next 5 working days. So this makes me think the company is from abroad, most probably Pakistan or China. Well, I think I will now make my own knife. All the best from Pete. Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'd like to see the knife that you make, and I don't know what a what's-the-name knife is, although, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a picture of the said knife that was on offer, so let's see if we can have a look at that. There it is. There we go. This is the knife from a company called figureempire.com by the looks of things. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying whether they're a good company or a bad company, but it looks like... I would like to know what you're going to do with that knife. I'm slightly concerned and worried, in actual fact. What are you actually going to do with that knife, Pete? I hope you're not coming over to sort of hack my head off with it. I haven't enjoyed the shows. I think, therefore, you're going to hack your head in half. You're doing too much content. If I hacked your head in half, maybe you'll only do half that amount of content. I won't do any content. So you're going to make your own knife. We want to know how you do it. Send us some pictures of you making your knife, and have you done this before, and how easy is it to make your own knife? I'm interested in getting some knives for my kitchen, to just to do ordinary kitchen butchery. Could I make my own knives? The lovely Anne said that she's going to send me some pictures of her husband's knives, which is very exciting. He apparently used to slaughter pigs and things. I don't need to slaughter pigs. And I don't know if you need a license to have particularly sharp and lethal knives. So I'm a bit concerned about all of that. But you let me know what you think here on Made in England. So it's all good fun in the show today. I wanted to show you some war pictures as well, because you remember we were talking about war. I've got some various bits and bobs, so let's go to these war pictures if I can find them. Yes, we've got them in. I meant to show them yesterday. I've been gathering pictures from this rather lovely book, Britain at War, and they do have some fantastic pictures in here. It is, as I said before, a time... Excuse me, having to get into a different place here. I don't want to bang the keyboard and cause problems and mayhem and chaos. No, so now here we go. I like this particular era because of the cohesion that people pulled themselves together. I don't know that people would pull themselves together if we had a war now, whether we'd all work, because it seems like we're just so full of lots of different fractions of people. Some people are born in this country, some people are born in this country, but originally their families came from a different country, and so is the cohesion all there? I don't know. See, it's a bit confusing. Whereas this time, everybody got together because they had a common foe. I suppose if we had Martians coming down to shoot us, we'd all pull together because it would be in everybody's interest. I think that's why I'm fascinated about it. Now, here's an interesting picture. Here we go. This is the Holborn restaurant, apparently. And what a number of buildings in London in 1939, when the advent of the Germans coming over was going to do, was bomb the place. And they put all these sandbags. Now, in an earlier show, I showed you people filling up the sandbags. This restaurant, it's a huge, great big restaurant. Apparently, it survived. It was huge, lots of different rooms and all sorts of things. It survived the war, all right. It survived the war. But after the war in 1955, it didn't survive the planners. They came along and blew it up. And I don't know what they built on it. But it was a beautiful old building. Apparently, this is what's happening to this country, and I'm not very happy about it. Here is a picture of a lady who is, now I'm going to get this right because it does say it, Mrs. Ferguson. That's Mrs. Ferguson, and she was apparently trailed in February 1939 as a housewife who was the first in Manchester and in England to get one of these Anderson shelters, just a bit of corrugated metal. Look at that, and you see how flimsy it is. And I think people would cover these things in soil and other things to make them a bit harder in case buildings blew up. But some people who had these shelters, and I didn't know this, they had nowhere to put them. So do you know what they did? They put them inside their house, which I just thought was a bit barking. You're supposed to get them out of the house in case the house tumbles down. But I suppose any old port in a storm. And so there it is, Mrs. Ferguson or a family similar inside where they've managed to shove this thing up in the kitchen or in a lounge or somewhere. So if the house tumbled down, hopefully that flimsy stuff would actually protect them. Who knows? I'm not too sure about that myself, but you never know in this world. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are swiftly coming to the end of the show. I hope you're enjoying it and the weekend is coming up. Do send your emails in to richard@vobes.com. You know I love to get them. Now, I want to tell you something about my library downstairs because I mentioned books just now. Now, you'd think that I'd got enough books, wouldn't you? You'd imagine that in my little library here of wonderful books, of history books and story books and factual books and how to do stuff books and country walks to go and explore books and books on England and all that kind of malarkey, that I would have enough books to keep me going for ages. And you're probably right. You may even be asking yourself, how many of these books that I've got in my little collection here have I actually read? And that is a very interesting question. I'm very glad you asked me that because books are important to me. And sometimes I'll buy a book. Here's a book. I don't know what this one is. I'm picking up Famous Land Battles. Actually, I got this from my father when he died. From medieval to modern times. This is a book by Richard Humble with some rather lovely pictures. Anyway, I have to confess, I haven't read this, but sometimes I will pick up books. I'll buy them because I'm interested in something. And sometimes those books are more complicated than I imagined them to originally be. Or other times I can't get into them. I find the text very difficult to read or what have you. Or by the time the book has arrived, I've moved on and found something else and gone, oh, well, I'll get back to that at some other time. Then it resides on the shelf for a while. But then sometimes I'll find myself, and I don't know, why have I put my fingers in my ears? I don't know if you ever do. Oh, the sun has gone in. Look at that. Hang on a minute. I've got to adjust things now because that's not supposed to happen. I'll stand in this little slither of sunshine whilst we've got it. It had all blue sky and I thought I could get away with this filming. Look at that. It's most remarkable. It'll come out again in a minute. So, yes, sometimes I can't remember exactly what I'm saying. So this is all a bit pointless now. You know, I could actually do this again and do it professionally, but recording these things for this video, I don't get enough time in the day. Anyway, all of this is supposed to be leading up to one important thing. A book arrived yesterday and it came to the thing, but I was out filming something else with the lovely Julia and we didn't have time. So I had to go to the post office this morning and pick it up. And I did pick it up and here it is. And it came with a card. And if this is you, thank you very much. This card, it says, hope the book helps. Yours, Mick, saw this and thought of you. It's a lovely card, by the way. So what is the book? The book is How Old Is Your House by Pamela Cunningham. And at first I thought, oh, what a shame, because on my shelf I've got this book. And then, hang on a minute, I realised, the sun has come out at the right time. No, the book I've got by Pamela Cunningham is How Old Is the Church? The sun has come out brighter than before now. So this is How Old Is Your House, which is even better because it gives you lovely pictures of... you can't really see it. This is terrible, isn't it? This is the worst bit of filmmaking, but hopefully you're smiling or you're cursing. You're going, why am I watching this rubbish? Who is this bloke? What is he trying to do? He's trying to find you in the shortest amount of time. Look at these. How annoying is it? I'll show you afterwards. I'll have the book upstairs. How old is your house? I know that my house is 1875. It's a terraced house. It's a Victorian terrace, 1875. That's when it was built. For a long time, I thought it was 1870, but thanks to some research that a friend of mine did, came out as 1875. Had to be because it was in the census or something. Anyway, I can't remember how it all worked out, but that is the truth of it. And there the sun is going. So I will get back into that slither. I want to know, do you buy books? Oh, there we go. Sun's out again. This is exciting, isn't it? This is what you call entertainment. This is it. You're going to get, I'll get loads of, this will go viral now. I should put this out all on its own. Yes. Do you buy books and never read them? Do you buy books and how many have you read them? I know that I've read 60% of the books on the shelves here, but 40% still present themselves. That's what I was going to say. And sometimes when I'm sitting or waiting for people or I've got a few minutes and I just don't fancy the books that I'm reading at the moment, I will pick up a book at random that I've never read and I will read perhaps a page or a paragraph or even a chapter. And then I might get really ensconced in it and read the rest of the book. So there you go. Books. Mick, thank you so much. If anyone's got any old books they don't want, I love books. I love books. If you've got anything about England, then do send them over. Get rid of them. Send them to me. I love them. Back to the studio.
By the 19th century, there was a great increase in the growth of towns and in the movement of people into towns from the rural... there we are. Yes, this is the book. This is it. Thank you very much, Mick. I very much appreciate that. It's a very beautiful book, actually. Lots of interesting stuff. No doubt I will... it's the sort of thing that would inspire me to go off round the town pointing at houses and then trying to sort of work it all out. And say, oh yeah, look at that. They've got a such and such hipped doodah, or they've got a Dutch gable up there, or they're using a so and so, whatever it is. Anyway, that's what I want. There we are. Thank you very much, Mick. I appreciate that. And a big thanks to Steve Mitchell, who sent in these acrylic pens after watching the lovely Julia and I struggling with our candles in the English couple thing. They only came the other day and I didn't know who they came from. So sometimes I do get these deliveries. I had a crock pot, you may have noticed the other day. No idea. Still don't know who to thank for that. It just came. I mean, could have been delivered to the wrong place for all I know. I don't know where it came. If it was you, do tell me because I'd love to thank you. Anyway, thank you, Steve. We will go and investigate those, no doubt. That's it in today's show. Thank you so much for coming along and being part of it all. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We will be back. I say we. I mean, I know I'm mainly the host on this show, but the lovely Julia, we try to feature her in as much as we can. And, of course, the English couple thing next week. Until then, look after yourselves. Have fun. Take care. And ta-ta for now. Oh, no, I can't believe this. I can't. Every time. It's because I don't go into that button. It would be... See you next time.